All right, probability. Okay, so probability is always going to be the probability of event is the number of the event happening over the total number in the sample space. So the sample space is the number of outcomes that are possible. So let's just look at some really basic examples. So if I've got a deck of 52 cards, the number of sample space outcomes are 52, right? Because there's 52 different cards that I could choose. All right, so now if I'm asked the probability that that one of the cards that is chosen, the card that is chosen is a black face card. So out of the 52, so that would be the denominator, how many black face cards are there? Well, I've got the jack and the queen and the king, right? Those are the ones with the faces on it. And I've got clubs and spades. And so that would make 2 of each, right? So that gives me 6. So 6 out of 52 are the black face cards. So that's the probability. So it's always the number possible over the total sample space. All right, so now let's change gears and go to pair of dice. So if I've got a pair of dice and one's blue and one's gray, just to keep it separate, what's the probability that the sum of the die is 6? So the sum is 6. Okay, so I could have a 1 and a 5, or a 5 and a 1, right? If I wanted to call this the blue and this the gray. And then, or I could have a 3 and a 3, right? And that wouldn't make a difference no matter which. And then a 2 and a 4, or a 4 and a 2, right? So just making sure you understand that there's 2 different die and that this is different than this, right? Because there's a blue and a gray one. So what's the probability that the sum is 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of, what's the total number in the sample space? So for the blue die, I have 6 sides, and for the green, I have 6 sides. So 6 times 6 is 36. So this is the number of the event happening, right? Just want to make sure you understand the notation over the number in the sample space, right? Okay, so at least and at most, I wanted to make sure you're comfortable with this verbiage. So what's the probability that the sum of the dice, or the sum of the number on the die is at least 9? So what does that mean? 9 or more, right? It could be 9 or 10 or 11, right? So if I've got a pair of dice, so 2. So if I want at least 9, so 9 is included, so that gives me a 6 and a 3 and a 3 and a 6. So there's 2 ways, right? So I can think of it as the blue and this is the gray, right? And then what else? What other combinations give me a 9? A 5 and a 4. So that gives me a 9. And so then I'm looking for the 10, right? There's only one way to get a 10. And then 11, so that gives me a 6 and a 5 and a 5 and a 6. And then 12, so that's going to be a 6 and a 6. And let me think if I'm missing anything else. So that was 9 and 10. I think there's other ways to get 10. Yes? Yes. So 10, I could get a 4 and a 6 and a 6 and a 4. So I just like to keep my work organized so that I can kind of go back over it and make sure I got all of the cases. So I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 out of the 36 possible, and that gives me a sum of 9 or more. That means at least 9. So what about at most 6? So at most 6, so this means 6 or less, right? 6 or less. So thinking about my pair of dice, I have a 1 and a 1, a 2 and a 2, and a 3 and a 3, right? Because you can have at most 6, so I can have 6. So then I've got a sum of 3, or I've got a sum of 4, or I've got a sum of 5. And I could have a 5 as a 3 and a 2, right? And a sum of 6 I could get with a 4 and a 2 and a 4. I already had the 3 and the 3. And I think that's it. Yeah, okay. So at most 6, so how many does this give me? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And this gives me 11, 13 out of the 36 possibles.